He had everything, wealth, success, and a name people respected. But one snowy night, he met two little girls in an alley. They looked just like him. They clutched old teddy bears and whispered a sentence that would change his life forever. "Are you the man our mommy said would come?" What he discovered next unraveled a secret buried for over 30 years. A lost twin, a hidden past, and a family he never knew he had. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit subscribe, tap the like button, and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Now, let's jump into the story. Rowan Blake was used to waking up in silence. His morning started with soft music, sunlight slipping through wide windows, and the quiet hum of comfort that surrounded his life. At just 31 years old, Rowan had it all: money, success, and a home many would dream of. His apartment sat high above the city, with glass walls and sleek furniture that looked more like a hotel than a home. But inside, Rowan often felt like something was missing. He had built a tech company from the ground up. He had dozens of employees, luxury cars, and a name people respected. Yet every day felt the same: clean, cold, empty. One Friday evening, after a long day of meetings and polite smiles, Rowan decided to take a walk. It was the first snow of the season, and something about it made him want to feel the world again. He slipped on his coat and told his driver, Mr. Callan, to take the night off. As snowflakes began to fall softly, Rowan walked, past glowing shop windows and couples huddled together. Laughter filled the air. Families bustled about with shopping bags and red cheeks. For a moment, Rowan wondered what it would feel like to be one of them. Not rich, not powerful, just normal. As he passed an old alleyway between two buildings, something caught his eye. Two small figures huddled together, almost hidden behind a stack of cardboard boxes. Curious, Rowan stepped closer. The two were little girls, maybe 5, maybe 6 years old. Their blonde hair was tangled, their faces dirty, and their clothes thin for the cold. They held onto stuffed bears, worn from love and time. They looked almost identical. One of the girls looked up. Her blue eyes met Rowan's. For a moment, everything else faded away. Something in her gaze felt strangely familiar, like he had seen those eyes before, in a dream, or maybe a memory. "Excuse me," she said, her voice soft but steady. "Can you help us find our mommy?" Rowan knelt down, careful not to frighten them. "Where is she?" he asked gently. "She said she'd be back," the other girl whispered, her arms tight around her bear. "But it's been a long time." Rowan's heart ached. He had walked past homeless people before, but something about these girls, so small, so still, so brave, made him stop. They didn't beg. They didn't cry. They just waited. "Do you have somewhere to stay?" Rowan asked. The first girl shook her head. "We're hungry." Without thinking, Rowan pulled out his phone. "I can call someone to help," he said. But then he paused. He could call the police. Or a shelter. But something inside told him to wait. "Maybe I can take you somewhere warm." "Just for food," he offered. Just as the girls began to nod, a sharp voice cut through the air. "There you are." A woman stumbled toward them from the corner of the street. Her coat was too big, her eyes red, and her words slurred. "I've been looking for you." The girls didn't look happy. In fact, they looked frightened. "Mommy," they said together, but there was no joy in their voices. The woman glared at Rowan. "Who are you? What are you doing with my kids?" He was helping us," one of the girls interrupted. "They need food?" Rowan said carefully. "It's freezing out here." "Mind your own business, rich boy," the woman snapped, her eyes narrowing as she noticed Rowan's expensive coat. "They're fine." Rowan stepped back, unsure of what to do. But then he saw it. As the woman grabbed the girl's hands roughly, one of them dropped her teddy bear. Rowan bent to pick it up. There, on the bear's foot, was a small tag. "Property of Briarwood Hospital." Rowan froze. That was the hospital where he had been born. The woman dragged the girls away, disappearing around the corner. Rowan stood in the snow clutching the teddy bear, his heart pounding. He didn't understand why these girls had shaken him so deeply. He didn't understand the strange feeling in his chest or the connection he felt to their faces, their eyes, even their silence. But something inside him said this wasn't over. Rowan looked down at the tag again. Briarwood Hospital. The same place his mother had whispered about before she passed. A hospital with secrets. A past he had never truly explored. The snow continued to fall, quiet and cold. Rowan tucked the bear into his coat, his breath showing in the winter air. He didn't know where the girls had gone, but he knew one thing. He was going to find them, and when he did, he would find out why they felt like a missing piece of his own life. Rowan couldn't sleep that night. The faces of the twin girls stayed in his mind. Their soft voices, their matching eyes, the worn teddy bear with the hospital tag. He couldn't shake the feeling that their story was somehow connected to his own. At sunrise, he sat in his kitchen holding a cup of coffee he had no interest in drinking. The bear was on the table in front of him. He kept staring at the tag. Briarwood Hospital. He had been born there. His mother used to mention it in hushed tones before she passed away. He never asked questions. He had never wanted to know more. Until now, he picked up his phone and dialed a name given to him by a friend, Lena Marsh, a well-known child welfare attorney in the city. She answered on the second ring. Lena Marsh speaking. Hi. I'm Rowan Blake. I need your help. It's about 2 little girls I met yesterday. I think they're in danger. Go on, she said, her voice calm but sharp. Rowan explained everything, finding the twins in the alley, their strange connection to him, and the teddy bear with the hospital tag. Lena didn't interrupt. When he finished, she spoke firmly. Come to my office, bring the bear. An hour later, Rowan walked into a small office filled with books, files, and a feeling of quiet strength. Lena stood to greet him. She was in her late 30s with warm eyes and a professional way about her. After studying the bear's tag, she said, We can start by checking the hospital. If these girls were born there, we might find something. But they're so young, Rowan said. They can't be more than 6. They could be someone's children, Lena said gently. Maybe someone you're related to. Rowan's stomach turned at the thought. Could he really be connected to them? They drove together to Briarwood Hospital. The building had changed over the years. New paint, new signs, but still the same place from his past. Inside, Lena asked to speak with the records department. A kind older woman named Mrs. Donnelly met them behind the desk. She had worked at the hospital for over 40 years. Rowan introduced himself. Her eyes lit up with recognition. You're Catherine Blake's son, aren't you? She asked kindly. She was such a lovely woman. Rowan nodded. Do you remember anything about her time here? Mrs. Donnelly frowned. I remember bits and pieces. She was brought in early. Complicated pregnancy. There was talk that she was expecting twins. Rowan looked at Lena, heart pounding. But I was told I was an only child, he said. Mrs. Donnelly's eyes softened. Yes, that's what everyone was told. Your father insisted on privacy. He didn't let many people near her. There were whispers, but nothing confirmed. Rowan took a deep breath. Is there anyone else who might know more? Mrs. Donnelly paused, then scribbled a name and number on a small notepad. Dr. Hale. He was in the delivery room back then. He's retired now. But he might remember. Later that day, they met Dr. Hale, now in his 70s, who still volunteered part-time at the hospital. His hands trembled slightly, but his eyes were clear. I remember Catherine, he said after Rowan introduced himself. There was something strange about her case. She was told she had 1 child, but all the early scans showed 2 heartbeats. Then suddenly 1 baby was gone. No death record, no body. Just gone. Rowan felt like the air had been knocked out of him. Could my mother have had twins? He asked, his voice shaking. Dr. Hale nodded slowly. Yes, but something happened behind closed doors. I wasn't allowed back in the room after the delivery. Your father handled everything. Back in the car, Lena turned to Rowan. Rowan, if you did have a twin, it's possible those girls are your nieces. He stared out the window, the city passing by in a blur. Why wouldn't my mother tell me? Maybe she didn't know, Lena said. Or maybe someone made her believe it was all in her head. Rowan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the bear again. He gently touched the worn fabric, now realizing it might be more than a child's toy. It could be a clue from the past. Then I need to find those girls, he said firmly. I need to find out the truth about them, about my family, about everything. That night, Rowan returned home with a heavy heart, but a strong purpose. He laid the bear on his nightstand and stared at it in the dim light. A storm of questions filled his mind. Who was his twin? Where had he gone? Had his father hidden him? And if so, why? Rowan didn't have the answers. Not yet, but he had something now that he didn't have before. A reason to keep going. A reason to care. And two little girls out there who just might be the key to unlocking everything he never knew about his past. Rowan Blake stood at the edge of the alley, his coat collar pulled up against the cold wind. He had come back to the same place he'd found the twin girls a few days ago. But now, the alley was empty. No cardboard boxes, no soft voices, no stuffed teddy bears. Only silence. His heart dropped. He had hoped to find them again. He didn't know why he cared so much, only that he did. Every moment since their first meeting, he had felt a pull he couldn't explain. They're your nieces, Lena had said, just yesterday. The words still echoed in his mind. But where were they? Rowan turned down the next street and saw something familiar. A tall woman was standing near a street lamp, shouting at two small children beside her. The girls, Gracie and Nellie. Rowan rushed forward just as the woman yanked one of them by the arm. Stop, he called out, causing the woman to spin around. It was the same woman who had appeared that snowy night. Her face was flushed, her clothes dirty, and her eyes wild. You again? She snapped. What do you want? I just want to make sure they're okay, Rowan said calmly. Please, let me talk to them. You're not their father, the woman spat. No, Rowan said, but I might be their uncle. The girls looked up at him with wide eyes. They remembered him. We're hungry, Gracie whispered. Rowan stepped closer. Let me help. Let me take you somewhere warm. The woman's face tightened. They're not going with you. Rowan slowly reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his phone. Then maybe I'll call someone who can help. Someone who will make sure they're safe. The woman hesitated. Her grip on the girls loosened. A police car turned the corner. Just then, flashing blue lights across the pavement. The woman's eyes widened in panic and she suddenly let go of the girls, stepping back into the shadows. Gracie and Nellie ran to Rowan without hesitation. The officer stepped out of the car. Is everything all right here? Rowan nodded. These girls need help and I believe I'm their next of kin. Back at his apartment, Rowan wrapped the girls in warm blankets. A kind officer had helped them get food and made sure a report was filed about the woman who had been with them. She wasn't our real mom, Nellie whispered as she sipped hot cocoa. She said she found us after our real mommy died. Rowan's chest tightened. Do you know your mom's name? Her name was Lila, Gracie said quietly. Our daddy was Theo. He built houses. Lena arrived soon after, holding a folder. With more documents and updates, we found something, she said as Rowan let her in. There's a man named Theodore March, an architect who died 3 years ago in a car accident. He had twin daughters, their names match. Rowan froze. Theo March? Lena nodded. He was adopted, and get this, his birth certificate lists the hospital as Briarwood. His birth date is the same as yours. Rowan sat down slowly, taking in the truth. Then it's real. He was my twin. Lena placed a small box in front of him. There's more. After some digging, I found a storage unit registered under Theo's name. This was inside. Rowan opened the box with shaking hands. Inside were photographs, letters, and a small notebook. There was a photo of Theo holding the twin girls, smiling wide. Another showed him as a child standing beside a woman who looked nothing like Rowan's parents. And then, the letter. One that Theo had written to someone he'd never met. To the brother I've never known. If you're reading this, it means you've found the truth. I always knew I had someone out there. I could feel it like a missing piece. I wish we'd met. But if you found this, I hope you'll look after my daughters. They're the best part of me. Rowan closed the letter with tears in his eyes. Gracie walked over and placed her tiny hand on his. Do you know our daddy? She asked. Rowan nodded, voice tight. I didn't, but I wish I had. He sounds like a good man. The next morning, Lena helped Rowan file for emergency custody. The girls had no other family, no living grandparents, no close relatives. And with the proof of connection and Theo's letter, the case was strong. That night, the girls fell asleep in his guest room, tucked into warm beds he had set up with the help of his housekeeper. The home, once cold and silent, now felt alive. Rowan stood in the hallway outside their room, listening to the soft sound of their breathing. The silence now felt full, not empty. He had started the week thinking he had everything. Now he knew that what he was missing all along was family. Tomorrow would bring court visits, paperwork, and more questions. But for now, Rowan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. And maybe, just maybe, hope. 3 weeks had passed since Rowan Blake brought the girls home. His apartment, once clean and quiet, now felt like a completely different place. Laughter echoed through the halls. Tiny shoes lay by the front door. Crayons were scattered across the dining table. Gracie and Nellie had brought life back into his world. Rowan was learning things he never thought he'd need to know. How to braid hair, how to make pancakes shaped like stars, and how to comfort a child during a bad dream. It was exhausting, sometimes messy, but deeply fulfilling. The court had granted him temporary custody after DNA results confirmed that Gracie and Nellie were the daughters of his twin brother, Theo March. The court also noted Rowan's stability, his commitment, and the letter from Theo that asked whoever found his daughters to care for them. But something still didn't feel quite right. Rowan didn't want the girls to grow up in a high-rise with glass walls and echoing rooms. He wanted them to have a backyard, trees, a space to run, to grow, and to feel like they truly belonged. So Rowan made a decision. One rainy afternoon, he drove them out of the city to a quiet neighborhood filled with trees and gardens. At the end of a winding lane stood a small but beautiful house. White walls, a wide front porch, a big oak tree in the yard. The girls stared in wonder as Rowan knelt beside them. What do you think? He asked. Does someone live here? Nellie asked, her voice curious. You do, Rowan said with a smile. If you want to. The girls looked at each other, then at the swing in the backyard. They didn't speak, but Rowan could see it in their eyes. They were home. 2 weeks later, the move was complete. Gracie and Nellie had their own bedroom, painted in soft colors, filled with books, stuffed animals, and hand-picked blankets. Rowan set up a little table for crafts and a corner, bookshelf for story time. He even planted flowers outside, though he wasn't much of a gardener. But it was the backyard that mattered most. On a sunny Saturday morning, Rowan helped the girls plant a tree. A tree? Nellie asked as she held the tiny sapling. Yep, Rowan said. We'll call it the Hope Tree. Every time you look at it, you'll remember that this is your garden, your place to grow. Gracie smiled. Can we bury something under it? Rowan nodded. What would you like to bury? Girls ran inside and came back with 2 small items, an old photo of their dad, Theo, and a crumpled piece of paper from his letter. Rowan gently wrapped them in a cloth and placed them in the ground below the roots of the tree. As he covered the hole with dirt, he felt a wave of emotion rise in his chest. Theo had never known him. But somehow, Rowan felt closer to his brother, now than he ever had before. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, a car pulled into the driveway. Out stepped a woman with tired eyes and steady hands. It was Mira, the woman who had once claimed to be the girl's mother. She had entered a treatment program, and with help from Lena and the court, she had begun to recover. Now, clean and clear-headed, she came with one request. "I just want to see them, to say I'm sorry." Rowan was unsure at first, but after talking with Lena, he agreed. The girls were shy at first, but Mira spoke gently. She told them she had made mistakes, that she wasn't their real mother but had tried to protect them the only way she knew how. Gracie reached out and hugged her without a word. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't need to be explained. It just happens. Weeks passed and the garden bloomed. The girls went to a new school nearby and made friends. Rowan learned how to pack lunches, attend parent meetings, and read bedtime stories every night. They had started a new chapter. One evening after dinner, Rowan sat on the back porch with a cup of tea while the girls played with their dolls under the tree. He looked out over the garden, the tree swaying softly in the breeze, the soft glow of lanterns along the fence, and the sound of giggles in the air. He smiled. This wasn't the life he had planned, but it was the life he had been waiting for. Rowan had found something better than success or wealth. He had found family, and in the heart of that small house, with two brave little girls and a tree named Hope, Rowan Blake had finally found the one thing he thought he'd never have. A home. A real one. One built not from walls, but from love.